This weekend I had something happen to me that, well, I almost lost it. It was working in healthcare is not easy, and it's not unusual to have moments where you're overwhelmed. And in this particular one, it was toward the end of rounds, and I had just finished rounding in one unit, was headed off to round in another unit, and one of the nurses came up to me and let me know that there are going to be changes in the admission order set for newborns. That these changes were pretty much a done deal and were headed down the pipeline. And I asked what changes. There are certain things for which the nursing staff will no longer be allowed to call the physician on call. There are changes to the way we do some other things. For example, newborn screening tests will now all have to be done as a venous draw so that the nurses can get more experience with venous draws. And an umbilical line will no longer be considered a central line, which changes the status of any of our patients who have an umbilical line. And as she went through this list, the whole list seemed somewhat punitive and vindictive. And I became angry. Not at the nurse who was speaking to me, but at the physician or department head who had decided to make these changes, had decided to do it without consulting the other physicians in the department. And I got angry on behalf of my nursing staff. And I found my tone of voice slipping into sarcasm, which is one of my signs that I'm about to lose my shit. So I took a breath and I stepped back, and because I didn't want to come across as angry with the nurses. That wasn't the case at all. But I really felt bad for the position they were being put in. So I asked when and how I could get access to these new changes so that I could read them, to get some facts under my belt. Because the way it was, I was angry at the physician that did this. I was making judgments about his emotional state, and I was starting to lash out. I didn't want to do those things. So I thought, I need some facts. Where can I get the facts? And the facts for me in this instance started with actually seeing these proposed changes. So I made arrangements to do that. That was going to involve meeting with the nurse manager and getting a copy from her. And that would give me an opportunity to get her take on these new orders. And then I also wanted to meet with my department head. But I didn't want to just call him up and do it right then because I knew I was upset. So I went home and I took a nap. Well, once I finished all my rounding, I went home and took a nap because I knew I had just finished 4 hours of rapid decision making, and I had decision fatigue. I also knew that I was physically fatigued because I just finished 4 hours on my feet at the end of a shift that was over 24 hours, and I was just exhausted. So I went home and I slept. And when I woke up, I knew I'd made the right choice to wait and get some information before I called my department head. And I bring this up now because we're coming into the holiday season. We're going to be more physically fatigued, which can lead to decision fatigue. We're going to be busy. Staffing is going to be critical if it isn't already. We're going to be working longer hours, and we're less likely to have the ability to do the things that rest our brain, like time with family, time with friends, just an evening off. Those things are going to be less accessible to us because we are working more hours in the hospital. Here's what I recommend. The most important thing about decision fatigue is recognizing it when it happens. So start keeping a list of when this seems to be happening to you. And I do think a written list is better than a mental list, and you can make lists like that on your phone. but start recognizing when you're in decision fatigue and then figure out how you can correct it. Now, you may not be able to go get a nap. I get that. But you may very well be able to shut your office door and do 5 minutes of breathing exercises or 5 minutes of meditation. Anything to just sort of reset. And these things have been shown scientifically to literally help with the function of your brain during decision fatigue. If you'd like to know more, or if you'd like to get my 7-minute reset, let me know. I'm here to help.